No, but you just want to go talk to him, I'm going to get his info real quick.
He's not happening at all.
No.
He's never fidgety. He's never walking back and forth.
This is the face of a man who has just realized that his neighbor might have done something heinous to his own pregnant wife and 2 daughters. Nate Trinistich is seen here talking to Frederick County detectives as soon as his neighbor Chris Watts is no longer within earshot. But to understand what led to this chilling moment, we must take it back a couple of hours. In the early hours of August 13th, 2018, Nicole Atkinson, the best friend of Shannan Watts, called the police concerned. She had arranged to take Shannon into town for a pregnancy test, but could not get a hold of her. She became alarmed at the sight of her friend's shoes at the front door, and since Shannon was diabetic, she promptly called 911. Police were greeted by Nicole and concerned neighbors when they arrived on the scene. They immediately started knocking on doors and windows to get her attention. Here, neighbor Nate can be seen talking to officers, and can be seen again as Chris finally arrives. They found it odd that Chris never gave police permission to break down the door when they called to inform him about the situation regarding his missing wife and daughters. Instead, he made them wait, but his next actions were about to set all suspicion on him. The first thing Chris did when he arrived was open the garage and inspect his wife's car. Nicole followed, while the officer and neighbors stayed outside, as they were not given permission by Chris to enter the property yet. While this was happening, Chris managed to sneak into the house and was alone in there for a whole minute and 7 seconds, while everyone outside noticed his curious behavior. This is made evident by the look on Nicole's face. Together, they discover that Shannon and the girls were not inside the house. But with all the ensuing commotion, Nate remembered his cameras that may help piece together what happened and brought it to the attention of law enforcement. You are about to see the moment in which Nate realizes the person responsible for the disappearance of Shannon and her daughters is standing right beside him.
Nothing on there.
What's that?
Nothing on there.
You just have to
My
back
camera.
in the truck up to the car.
Lay down.
I'm loading my stuff up in my coolers, my water jugs, my book bag, my computers, some of the tools that I had from the toolbox. I knew I was going to have to do some pumping into rubbers today. That's why I was out so far.
Is this on continually
Yep.
recording?
Yep. Well,
It's not, is it
any
motion or is it?
event.
Okay, so it's motion.
Any motion event that happened, but I get cars driving from this street, And this is him at 517.
I usually park out there on the side. I just want to get everything back in. It's easier, so lugging everything out there, all the tools that I had to bring in.
Chris has spent most of his time on his phone and is likely using it as a way to avoid eye contact. Watch what happens when he finally puts his phone away. People who have their hands on their heads in this position is experiencing immense discomfort and is doing it to self-soothe. This behavior started when Chris realized he was seen on camera loading something on the flatbed. He says he was loading work equipment, but his neighbors know that it's almost always a book bag and a lunchbox. While Chris's everyday work routine is being discussed, Nate can't help but notice if his neighbor's body language is that of a concerned husband and father or a monster figuring out if everyone is believing his act.
What else can I do with it?
My detective just showed up, so he'll probably want to talk to you. He'd probably, like I said, he might have you call like the bank and see if there's any kind of activity.
Because if there was any sort of action out
On
there,
his cameras,
I would have got it.
like
Right.
we had issues the other week when people were stealing stuff out of like garages and stuff like that, and I had parked my truck
I
over
had
here.
to park right here.
Yeah,
So you
someone
can see if
I could
anything
see where someone
happened.
tried to jimmy with a flathead screwdriver over there, and it was just like
But if any action would have happened, any cars or anything left your house, I would
if
have
it would
got
have
it.
been like right in that area, it should have picked.
Oh, it'll pick up anything coming down the street. This way.
You know where that tree there too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Watch, I'll show you. There's nothing on here. We've already watched that one. But like, you'll see this car.
What security systems do you have?
You can see this car starting to drive down the street.
The officer responds over radio. Watch as Chris is startled and immediately assumes they are talking about him.
He's next door.
Here we go.
And if you look closely, you can see the moment Chris is actively eavesdropping on the officer.
It'll be code 4.
Cause yeah, we can pick up cars coming this way. I get anything coming this way making its turn. So, and usually at night I pick up the car pulling a your turn. So unless they pulled right here, but I would have caught her walking out.
Look at Chris's reaction to Nate destroying the theory that Shannon and the kids left on their own.
But this is at 148, and then the next one I have is in at 5 whatever. So nothing, no cars came through, because I guarantee with the headlights, it picks up the headlights automatically.
And my Vivint said that at 5:27, my garage door was left open. But that could have been the sensor as well. And our remote on the outside doesn't work anymore. It got wet and just the whole radio on the back.
So yeah, that was it.
Okay. All right. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Hopefully something comes up here.
Chris is basically sprint walking out of Nate's house and is probably very relieved to be out of that situation. But listen to what Nate has to say about everything.
Mind if you just want to go talk to him? I'm going to get his info real quick.
He's not acting at all.
No.
He's never fidgety. He's never walking back and forth. And if you look, he never loads his stuff in and out of the garage ever.
Right.
And then the other thing that doesn't make sense is why would he pull past the part? You can see him pull past. But watch, you'll see him get out. And he walks back and forth a couple times. To be completely honest with you, my wife and I were kind of wondering when she was on vacation if something happened, because I've heard them full out screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, and he gets crazy.
Does he? And that's pretty recently?
Yeah. I'm guessing that's why she went and visited people, is because she wanted to get away from the situation. It just seems kind of odd to me. Why would he pull the stuff up and move it off?
Right.
Yeah, I've never seen him pull back. I've never seen him. If he loads his stuff, he normally just walks back and forth, because I get him on camera.
What does he usually load up?
All he usually has is a lunch box and a book bag, looks like a computer, and usually a water jug. That's it. But the fact that he was in here and explaining to it over and over and over,
Well, odd.
he doesn't look worried. He looks like he's trying to cover his track. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if he loaded his stuff, why isn't he walking back and forth? But I can't see what he's doing in the back of the truck because he pulled into the garage. Yeah. And he knows my camera's there. All these boards kept coming up missing, so we moved in here. I put this in. And like you said, someone was breaking into it. He said that someone was breaking into his toolboxes of his truck. So I told him he could park his truck out there in case they saw something. Don't you think it's, look at those.
I know, I'm trying to stop.
No, I'm just saying it's kind of odd that he pulls his truck back behind my camera. The cutoff, the truck's in the garage right now. And he never backs his truck into the
That's
driveway.
what her friend Christina was saying.
Diesel.
She's like, he never backs his truck up. Her mom said it too. She's like, he carries his stuff out from the house. He doesn't back his truck up.
Well, I have him on camera doing that when he does it. Because when he was parking his truck over here, the other thing was odd is why she was gone. He kept parking his truck and her car over here. And I used to see him walk out of his house right here.
He took the car out of the garage?
Oh, the car was parked over there for a long time. Like a couple days.
This is past weekend?
No.
It was when she was gone for 6 weeks.
Oh.
But I thought it was kind of odd that he never parked in front of here or right here. He said someone broke into his truck and he parked over here. I have no idea. Hey, he's acting so suspicious.
Since Nate knows Chris is a bit of an introvert, he is able to offer insight into Chris's baseline behavior and how it's different from what he just saw. He finally reveals to the officer exactly what his thoughts on Chris are.
He's normally, you can ask them, he's normally quiet, real subdued. He's over here telling you 3 times what he took out, what he did, what he did. He's very he never talks. So the fact that he's over here blabbing his mouth makes me kind of suspicious.
Yeah, but, I mean, you put yourself in his situation.
Oh, I agree.
You know, anyone's going to be nervous, you don't know what to do.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying the way he told you 3 times what he brought with him, why is he telling you exactly what he brought with him instead of saying, oh, they didn't see anybody out here, he didn't see anybody doing anything? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he so worried about you knowing what he's carrying out? That's all I'm saying.
Although it seemed like the officer was defending Chris's behavior, he had to act reserved, confirming the neighbor's suspicions would likely tip Chris off and in the process lawyer up. They needed Chris to believe they didn't suspect him for as long as possible. They needed his side of the story before they can nail him in the interrogation room. But Nate and his footage was crucial in allowing detectives to narrow their search and make Chris their main suspect. The reason Watts made this terrible decision so he could start a new life with his mistress in the family home, without Shannon or the kids. After initially denying knowledge of their whereabouts, Chris would eventually admit responsibility, confessing to his father in the interrogation room. He was given 5 life sentences and is in a Wisconsin prison where he'll remain for the rest of his life.